Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman, and we are broadcasting from our studios at the Capital Region International Airport in Lansing, Michigan. And we're going to go kind of cross town to talk to the senior interior designer at DBI, Monica Wahrer. Monica, it is very good to have you on. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Happy holidays to you, by the way.
You too.
Listen, let's talk a little bit about your industry. When people came back post-COVID, I guess you would say, um,
Yes.
trends kind of changed. So tell me, what are the current trends in office space these days?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to back up a little bit. Kind of right before COVID started to hit, we were seeing a big trend for companies trying to kind of break the physical barriers and bring down panel or cubicle heights to really open up the office floor plate. So that was kind of a trend that started before COVID. And then of course during COVID that kind of freaked everyone out. We were working from home and there was kind of a pause on that trend. So now as companies are starting to bring staff back into the office, we still have these floor plates with low panels, but now we're trying to create like retreat spaces for the focus work to happen. So a lot of staff got used to working from home and they have a quiet environment to work in. They have those focus spaces. But now we're seeing a lot of management that wants to kind of create those focus spaces in the office. So Hayworth has launched what's called the Hush Pads. I'm actually sitting in one right now in our office. Think of like a 7 by 6 foot maybe floor plate. It's like an enclosed room. There's acoustic properties throughout the whole thing. There's lighting, there's HVAC, electricity. These kind of hush pads are able to be moved throughout the floor plate. And they really create those spaces for heads down work and focus spaces. So these hush pads have 4 different sizes. I'm sitting in like a 2 to 4 person hush pad right now. So there's a table in the center, there's a bench across from me for other people to sit in to collaborate. We can have private conversations. There's also like a stand-up style, like a traditional phone booth where you're just standing up with maybe your laptop, a tablet, you're on a Zoom call just like this. And then there's also ADA compliant versions, which is a zero threshold, a wheelchair user can roll right in. So a lot of variances in the different styles, but these have been a really, really big push in the office space just to create those focus areas.
So my next question was going to be the open space and how is that affecting acoustics, but I think you spoke to a little part of that there.
Yeah, and I can even touch on that some more. So the acoustic properties is really interesting. Unfortunately, it becomes kind of an afterthought when we're breaking down the panels and people are recognizing that there's a lot of noise in the office that maybe they didn't really hear, or it didn't trigger in their brain that there was a lot of different noise happening around them. So there's a lot of distractions with acoustics. We will bring in like sound masking, which is something that can go in the ceiling, and it's just like a white noise that your brain it knows it's there, but it breaks up like the conversation happening on the other side of the panel or the other side of the office that normally you wouldn't hear. But when that sound masking is not present, it becomes very distracting when you're hearing a conversation and maybe you recognize a name that somebody said or you recognize something else, and then all of a sudden you become distracted because you're hearing that conversation and you're not engaged with your work. So acoustics is a really big thing too, because it can just be so distracting and create interruptions that you wouldn't normally be used to.
Of course, you're ruining office eavesdropping, you realize that,
The gossip talk.
right? Hey, how are you seeing technology in the workplace in this kind of adapting to this hybrid world?
Yeah, yeah. So technology is another one that, just coming off of COVID, like I said, we're used to kind of this hybrid work style where we're not really used to being in the office. Maybe we come in a day or two, but we're spending a lot of time, whether it's at home, it's in a different location, maybe a second house, or we have other employees that work out of state completely. They're completely remote. So it's really important that that companies are evaluating how their technology works and that it's conducive to how all of their staff is working, whether they have remote staff completely, they have hybrid. It's just identifying those technology needs and how it can be supported in all locations.
So, how are companies working toward creating kind of a culture that supports employees in this kind of post-pandemic world?
Yeah. So culture is a really big thing. It kind of wraps into what we've already been talking about. It's just identifying how staff is working, what tools they need to be successful. Because when we're doing our best work, the culture is it kind of makes itself happen. A good culture is the employees are engaged, they have the right tools to support their work styles. They can collaborate virtually, they can collaborate in person. So that culture though really has to be identified up front before we can kind of begin the process of looking at their floor plate and how it can affect the staff and how they're working.
Crazy things happening out there, and you are in the business of design, which you're continually adapting things because things
Yes.
change, don't it?
Yes.
Are there certain markets that DBI is pursuing these days?
Yeah, so we're looking at vertical markets, which has also been a big push with Hayworth right now too. We're just exploring like how our current client base can maybe grow with our new product offerings, like the Hush booth, for example. Right now we're looking a lot at higher ed and healthcare and how the stuff that we have with Hayworth's options, how that can grow our market vertically.
Well, listen, I'm all for your hush rooms. I'm over the holiday with 7 of our grandchildren, so I would like a hush room instead. Right?
I know where to get you one.
Perfect. Monica Wahrer, she's the senior interior designer at DBI. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a good holiday. Will you?
You too. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Monica.
Yep.
Of course, you've been watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network, and there is more ahead.